AITA for calling off my wedding after my fiancée mocked me on a live stream? Hello, my name is Connor Hayes. A few months ago, I lived through one of the most humiliating and surreal experiences of my life. I have already processed everything. I think the time has come to tell it. I am 30 years old and was engaged to Brooke, 29. We had been engaged for about 8 months, and I honestly thought our relationship was solid. We shared expenses, made vacation plans, and had normal arguments about day-to-day things, like whether it was really necessary to buy the most expensive towels from the store. I remember it was a Thursday night. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, ready to make the final payment of $3,200 to the catering service for our wedding. It was real, hard-earned money. I was in responsible adult mode, crossing off pending items from our spreadsheet, which we had color-coded. I felt calm, as if everything was under control. Then, my phone vibrated. Brooke was broadcasting live on Instagram. She had gone with her friends to a rented cabin in the mountains to celebrate her bachelorette party. I assumed the content would be the typical silly games, toasts with mimosas, and probably some funny photos with the bride-to-be sash. I figured I would get to laugh with her about those things later. I went in to watch the stream. There she was, right in front of the camera wearing the bride-to-be sash. The phone was being held by her best friend Madison, who clearly had already had quite a bit to drink. Over 200 people were watching live. Brooke had flushed cheeks and was holding a fancy bottle. They were laughing at everything. Then Madison, in her grand moment of brilliance, said, "Let's see, moment of truth. You are getting married next month. How do you really feel?" That was when everything changed for me. Brooke took an exaggerated sip from the bottle and replied, "Connor is very stable." But she said stable, as if she were referring to a chronic illness, as if stability were something you tolerate, not value. The others burst into laughter, and she continued, "He always pays the bills on time. His car is spotless. He takes out the trash every Tuesday." It sounded like she was giving my funeral eulogy. A voice off camera yelled, "But he is fun, at least." And Brooke, with that typical look of someone who thinks they are about to deliver a brilliant joke, leaned into the camera. "He is a good provider," she said, making air quotes. "My parents adore him." Then she paused, took another drink, and started being downright cruel. "But my God, he is so boring. You guys have no idea." Her friends were laughing nonstop. "He tries so hard to impress me all the time that it is pathetic. He organizes elaborate dates as if they were movie productions, and I, honestly, just sit there faking interest." She made an exaggerated face, pretending to yawn, which provoked more laughter. Madison, to add to the spectacle, yelled, "Was it not him who still tucks his shirt into his jeans?" "Yes," squealed Brooke. "And he always looks at himself in every mirror we pass as if his hair is going to come back. Just accept it already." The laughter was deafening. As if that was not enough, Brooke lowered her voice to deliver the final blow. "And let us not even talk about our private life. He tries, sure, but I always have to pretend so it ends quickly." The comments section filled with laughing emojis, harsh messages, and people tagging their friends to watch the show. Madison was crying from laughing so hard. And then Brooke, looking straight at the camera with an arrogant expression, said, "So, should I marry him?" The place erupted. More comments, more mockery, more fire in the chat. Madison was shaking with laughter to the point that the image jittered like there was an earthquake, but the worst was yet to come. Someone in the background shouted, "And what about Derek?" Then, Brooke's eyes lit up as if she remembered a wonderful anecdote. "Oh, Derek," she squealed excitedly. "He was a co-worker of hers from the marketing department. I had seen him a couple of times at company events. When she started talking about last month's corporate retreat, I knew exactly what was coming." With over 200 people as witnesses, Brooke began sharing how she had crossed a serious line with that guy in a hotel during the retreat. Laughter and shocked reactions filled the air. It was difficult to watch, but I had already started screen recording. Call it instinct, but I felt I was going to need proof of all that. While everything was happening, I remained seated in front of the laptop with the deposit confirmation still on the screen. I was watching how the woman who was supposedly going to become my wife transformed our relationship into a cheap comedy routine while confessing to having been unfaithful to me. And no, it was not a sarcastic remark. She truly did not know if she wanted to get married and was asking hundreds of strangers on the internet instead of talking to me, the person with whom she planned to unite her life. At that moment, something inside me simply switched off, as if a mental breaker had tripped. Everything around me went completely silent. I picked up my phone, used my main account with my real name and photos, and typed 2 words into the live chat: "Do not bother." Then I closed the app, saved the video on my cell phone, shut the laptop, and sat there motionless. There was no anxiety or rage, just an icy certainty, like when you finally fit the last piece of a puzzle. I realized I had about 12 hours before this situation completely exploded, so I got to work. First, I contacted the venue, going straight to the chat with our coordinator Sarah Jenkins, a very professional woman. I wrote the most polite message I could. "Hello, this is Connor Hayes. Please consider this message as official notification of the cancellation of our wedding scheduled for October 12th. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. I would appreciate a confirmation of receipt. Thank you very much. Send." Next, I went to the shared folder where we kept everything for the wedding, a spreadsheet with every vendor, every payment, every dietary restriction of the guests. Brooke had given me editing access months ago. I made a backup copy on my personal Google Drive and then went back to the original file. That was when I made a very satisfying decision. I located Brooke's name in the editing permissions of the wedding planning document and simply removed her access. Just like that, in a single click, she was locked out of everything we had prepared for 4 months. A bit vindictive? Maybe. Totally justified? Absolutely. Then I moved on to the next step, the catering service. I had literally transferred $3,200 to them 20 minutes earlier. I drafted a brief, clear, and formal email. "Good evening. Due to the cancellation of the event, I inform you that no further arrangements will be necessary. I understand that according to the contract, this payment and the initial deposit are non-refundable. Regards, Connor Hayes." An hour later, my phone started ringing. Madison's face appeared on the screen, the same face I had seen hours before, encouraging my fiancée to mock me publicly and confess to being unfaithful to me. I let the call go to voicemail. Immediately, text messages started pouring in. "Connor, answer right now. What did you do?" "Brooke got an email from the venue. What is going on?" I silenced my phone and poured myself a drink. The funny thing is, I was not doing it to hurt Brooke. I was just answering a question she herself posed on her live stream. Should I marry him? I simply gave my opinion. The rest was just logistics. Well, almost everything. The next 24 hours were absolute chaos on social media. My phone became the center of a storm of desperate calls and messages. Brooke tried to contact me 53 times. Her voicemails went through every possible emotion: confusion, anger, begging, more anger, until reaching a sort of absurd indignation, as if I were the aggressor for responding to what she had started. Madison was also texting me nonstop. She alternated between, "You need to fix this right now," and "I cannot believe you are so insensitive," which was ironic coming from someone who recorded that whole scene while my relationship fell to pieces live for hundreds of people. But the most surreal part was when Madison created a group chat called Support for Brooke, where she added all our mutual friends. Obviously, I was not included, but one of my friends shared some screenshots with me. "Connor had a meltdown and canceled everything over a simple joke," Madison wrote. "Brooke is devastated. He refuses to talk to her. He is overreacting." The replies were what you would expect. "No way. A hug for Brooke. Men are so fragile." I did not reply to any of those messages. Instead, I did some long overdue cleaning. Brooke and Madison had a small business designing wedding invitations and social media content. Something cute, sure, but they had been using my premium Canva account and my Adobe Creative Cloud subscription for a year. That represented about $0 a month in tools they used to generate income. I logged in, changed the passwords, and revoked all shared access. If they wanted to keep working, they could pay for their own accounts. Then I remembered Brooke used our shared Amazon account, where my card was the primary payment method. She had been buying all sorts of things on my dime for months: face masks, supplements, makeup, books. I signed out of all devices and changed that password too. On Friday afternoon, I heard her key in the lock. I was on the couch reading a biography of a Navy SEAL that my dad had recommended. A very peaceful scene, honestly. Brooke walked in with her suitcase, still wearing the same clothes from the live stream, with a tired face and dark circles under her eyes. You have 5 minutes to explain yourself, she said in an accusing tone, faking firmness, even though her voice was trembling. Explain what, Brooke? I replied without getting up. You asked a question, and I answered. Then I acted accordingly. It was a joke. I was with my friends. It was my bachelorette party. Every excuse grew louder, as if screaming could erase what she had done. Was it also a joke when you called me boring in public, when you made fun of my looks in front of hundreds of people, when you lied about our private life? Was the thing with Derek a joke too? Her face fell apart. She seemed to have forgotten everything she had said. You turned our relationship into a spectacle for strangers. Brooke, you humiliated me in ways I did not think possible. And the worst part is you forgot the most important viewer was watching. No, you humiliated me, she screamed. You commented on the video, and then you called the venue. My phone blew up. Do you know how embarrassing that was? It must be. Yes, but you were the one who exposed our relationship to ridicule and confessed to being unfaithful to me. I just turned off the camera. Something in her broke. She was left speechless, opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. At that moment, her cell phone rang. Madison's name appeared on the screen. Brooke answered and put it on speakerphone, as if she needed backup. Brooke, are you okay? Where are you? Madison said with that fake voice she used when she wanted to sound concerned. I am at the apartment with Connor. He is being completely irrational. I am on my way, Madison interrupted. As soon as I heard that, I started recording with my phone. I had a feeling that what was coming was going to be ugly, and I wanted to have everything. 5 minutes later, loud banging on the door began. I opened it, and there was Madison, disheveled, in pajamas, her face red with indignation. How dare you? She screamed at me without even saying hello. You completely humiliated Brooke. Everyone is talking about it. You are pathetic, Madison. Get out of my apartment, I told her firmly. She ignored me and marched straight into the living room where Brooke was still sitting on the couch crying, as if she were acting out the saddest scene in a soap opera. Look at what you did to her, Madison continued, pointing at me as if I were a cartoon villain. You made a scene over a simple joke and ruined her life. You canceled everything without even talking to her. What kind of person does something like that? The kind of guy who does not tolerate being publicly humiliated or cheated on, I replied calmly, making sure my phone kept recording. Oh, please, scoffed Madison, crossing her arms. How dramatic. You are acting like you are a victim. Brooke deserves much better than a boring, insecure guy with no sense of humor. Now I am telling you for the last time. Get out of my apartment, or I am calling the police. She let out an unpleasant laugh, a mockery so obvious it was almost grotesque. Call them. Tell them your feelings are hurt. Brooke does not need someone like you. You did her a favor. Up until that moment, Brooke had not said anything, but then she stood up with an exaggerated and theatrical sigh. Madison is right. I do not need this, she declared, looking at me with a contempt so cold it hurt more than any shouting. She went to the bedroom while Madison held my gaze as if she wanted to set me on fire with her eyes. Do you know what the saddest part of all this is? She spat out in a condescending tone. Brooke was going to marry you out of pity. I see. I answered without stopping the recording. Brooke returned with a small backpack. Her expression was that of someone hurt, but also of someone determined to maintain a dignity that no longer belonged to her. Let us go, Madison. I want to go somewhere I am actually valued. As they were leaving, Madison shot me one last venomous look. Do not get too happy. You have not won anything. Brooke has rights too, and believe me, we are going to make sure you pay for this. Next time you want to threaten someone, Madison, try not to do it in front of a camera, I told her, raising my phone. Still recording, her face twisted into a grimace of fear upon realizing what she had just done. They walked out without saying another word, and the door slammed shut behind them. Brooke spent that night at Madison's house, which, to be honest, was a relief. For the first time in months, the apartment felt peaceful. However, the calm did not last long. At 8 in the morning the next day, my phone rang. It was Brooke's father, Rick Thompson, an honest, retired man who had been an electrician his whole life. He built his own deck himself. I always got along well with him. Connor Hayes, he said in a serious tone. What the hell happened? He asked. Brooke told me you had a meltdown because she had a little fun at her bachelorette party and that you canceled everything without warning. I immediately noticed he was speaking from the version of events Brooke had told him, in which she appeared as the victim and I as the unhinged one. "Rick," I told him, "that is not what happened. Do you have a few minutes? There is much more you should know." I told him everything calmly, without omitting details. The other end of the line went silent for a long time. "Son," he finally said thoughtfully, "that is not even remotely the story Brooke told me. She told me she just made some harmless jokes, and you blew up. But now I understand why you recorded everything. Do you want me to send you the video?" There was another pause. "Send it to me." The file was 15 minutes long. I warned him that the hardest part started around the 5th minute. I hung up and went on with my morning. An hour later, he called me back. His voice was no longer the same. He sounded exhausted, but also deeply disappointed. "My God, Connor, I did not know Brooke could be so cruel. She told me you could not handle a joke about being boring and stable. She did not mention anything about what happened in our private life, nor about the mockery regarding your appearance, nor about Derek and Madison, egging her on the whole time. It was disgusting. I am not telling you this so you take sides," I clarified. "I just wanted you to have the whole story. And I appreciate it, son. What Brooke did was not a silly mistake or a moment of drama. It was pure cruelty. I raised her, or at least I thought I did. I am so sorry. I am going to have a very serious talk with her." From then on, the conversation was different. He was no longer a father dealing with just another of his daughter's conflicts, but a man genuinely ashamed of what he had seen. "And now what happens?" he finally asked. "Now it is time to untangle everything we shared. There is no other option," saying it was easier than doing it. 2 days later, while trying to relax for a while playing on the console, I noticed something strange on the entertainment center. My PlayStation controllers were missing. It might seem like a silly thing, but it was not. I had 2 limited edition controllers that cost $200 each, plus the regular ones. Brooke knew perfectly well how much I valued my gaming equipment and still took them when she packed her things. That night, I wrote an email. This time I also copied her father. "Brooke, you can take your belongings without any problem, but I need you to immediately return the 4 PlayStation controllers, including the 2 limited edition ones. They were not yours. They need to be back tomorrow." I also included the issue of the rent. We both signed the lease legally. We were both responsible, but she left thinking she could just wash her hands of the matter. "Brooke, your portion of the rent, $1,100, is 7 days past due. According to the contract we both signed, we are responsible for the total. If you do not pay, this will affect our credit scores and an eviction process could be initiated. Please pay immediately or sign a lease release form with the landlord." The phone rang 10 minutes later. "How dare you drag my dad into this?" Brooke shrieked, infuriated. "Hello, Brooke?" I said, putting her on speakerphone while I made coffee. "Are you calling to tell me you already paid the rent? I am not paying anything. You kicked me out. You decided to leave after breaking off our engagement. Our legal duty to the landlord is still in effect. I am just protecting my credit history, and you should do the same. You are cruel. You are trying to ruin me. No, I am paying my bills." Something you used to call boring and stable. Turns out it was not so irrelevant after all. I hung up and went back to my coffee. How different it was to start the day without having someone by my side who treated responsibility as a weakness. But there was still one pending matter. The video of the live stream was still saved on my phone. Brooke worked at a mid-sized marketing agency, a company with strict policies regarding professional conduct, especially when public image is at stake. I uploaded the recording to my Google Drive and left it there for a few days. Part of me thought about simply deleting it and closing that chapter as if nothing had happened. But then I remembered Brooke's expression as she told that story during the broadcast with an arrogant smile, as if our relationship and her deceit were comedy material for strangers. That made me change my mind. I drafted a formal email address to the Human Resources Department of the company where Brooke and Derek worked. I started with a "to whom it may concern," and then stated the following. "I am writing to report a concerning situation regarding 2 employees of your company, Brooke Thompson and Derek Evans. I have in my possession a video in which Ms. Thompson speaks publicly about inappropriate conduct between herself and Mr. Evans during a corporate retreat. I believe this could be a direct violation of your organization's standards of professional conduct. I have attached the recording for your review. Sincerely, Connor Hayes." I added the drive link and sent it without hesitation. Sometimes consequences do not need to be provoked, they simply arrive. The next scene in this mess came in the form of an unexpected visit. Susan, Brooke's mother, showed up at my door unannounced. If I had to describe her in one sentence, I would say she is the kind of person who always demands to speak to the manager. From her blonde highlights to her energy of moral superiority, she embodied it all. As soon as I opened the door, she started. "Connor Hayes," she said, emphasizing every word of my name as if scolding a child. "How dare you ruin my daughter's life?" I leaned against the doorframe, letting her vent. "Brooke has been crying for days. All this over a simple joke that you could not handle. You should be ashamed of yourself. Real men do not get upset over silly things like this," she continued, raising her voice and waving her arms as if conducting an orchestra. "Now she is sleeping on a friend's couch because you decided to punish her. You ruined her reputation. You made her father lose thousands of dollars. And for what? To feed your fragile ego." While she was talking, I took out my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, Rick," I said when he answered. "I am fine, but tell me one thing. Why is Susan at my house yelling at me?" Susan's face changed completely. Her expression went from fury to bewilderment. "Can you hold on a moment?" I asked Rick before handing the phone to her. "He wants to talk to you." She took the cell phone looking confused, not understanding how her husband had found out so quickly. "Hello, Rick. I am just trying." I did not need to be close to hear Rick's voice on the other end of the line. He was furious, and it showed. "Come home right now. I told you not to get involved. You have no idea what really happened," he could be heard saying clearly. Susan's face went from bewilderment to humiliation. She tried to defend herself. "But she is our daughter, Rick. And you." More yelling from the other side. "I already saw the video. Enough. Do not say another word." Then the call disconnected. Rick nodded slowly. "That is fair, son." We finished our coffee without saying anything else. On his way out, we did not exchange another word. It has been 4 months since then. The storm finally blew over, and the apartment finally feels completely mine, clean, quiet, stable. That word stable, which for Brooke was always synonymous with routine, now means freedom to me. I found out about what happened afterward through random messages from mutual friends and from what has been seen on social media. And honestly, it has been more entertaining than any television series. Brooke's life fell apart quickly. The first thing was that Rick cut off her financial support. No credit cards, no bailouts, no safety net. Apparently, after watching the recording of the live stream, he finally understood who his daughter had become. And that was when everything got even more interesting. Brooke had a brutal fight with Madison, her best friend, blaming her for everything, for having encouraged, pressured, and convinced her to do that Instagram live stream. Yes, it turned out that it was all Madison's idea. Brooke said that she had suggested every mockery, every comment, but Madison did not stay quiet. She replied that she was sick of carrying her drama and being her unpaid therapist, that she was no longer going to be her scapegoat, and kicked her out of the apartment. Brooke, with no other option, started sleeping on couches of various acquaintances, wearing out everyone's patience one by one. Madison had agreed to be the maid of honor for a wild bachelorette party, not to become the emotional babysitter of a broken, aimless woman. And speaking of consequences, remember that email I sent to the company where Brooke worked? Apparently, human resources departments do take videos seriously where an employee admits to inappropriate conduct within the work environment. Both Brooke and Derek were fired in less than a week. It seems the incident at the corporate retreat was already being investigated, and my recording was the final push they needed to make a decision. Brooke ended up getting a job at an insurance call center, and from what they tell me, she hates it with a passion. Derek, for his part, blamed her for everything, packed his bags, and moved back in with his parents in Ohio. She goes around saying that I was the one who ruined her life. I find it ironic, like a sort of poetic justice. I did not destroy anything. I just stopped funding her lifestyle and allowed reality to catch up with her. When the financial backing of a responsible partner is taken away, you get fired for professional misconduct. Your parents stop covering for your mistakes, and your friends get tired of you. What you have left is the direct result of your own decisions. Madison did not come out unscathed either. The video was recorded by several people and ended up circulating throughout the social group. She is no longer seen as the fun and charismatic girl she used to be, but as the cruel instigator who pushed her friend to ruin her own future. I blocked that entire group, Brooke, Madison, even Susan, on social media, phone, and email, as if I had digitally erased them from my life. Rick still communicates with me from time to time. He never mentions Brooke, but the respect between us remains intact. We recently met up for a drink and ended up talking about our routines, as if everything before belonged to another life. A few days ago, I made a decision. I booked that trip to Italy we had planned together. This time I will go alone, not as a frustrated honeymoon, but as a personal celebration, closure, a new chapter. As for the ring, I sold it without hesitation. I did not get the full amount back, but enough to treat myself to something I had been wanting for a while. I invested part of it in myself, not in a facade of fake love. Literally, I bought a high-end monitor that I had been eyeing for months, not because I needed it, but because I deserved it. I did not gain money. I gained clarity, the peace of mind of knowing that I set boundaries, that I chose not to drag out a relationship out of fear or pride. At the end of the day, that is worth more than any jewel or romantic destination. Now, every time I turn on that monitor and load into a game, I am not running away from the past. I am celebrating that I no longer carry what does not belong to me. Susan handed the phone back to me with a forced smile that convinced no one. "Well, I still think you overreacted," she said before turning around. Comment: I've been thinking about how much self-respect matters after hearing stories like this. When someone shows you they don't truly value you, it's okay to choose yourself without guilt. Setting clear boundaries is one of the most important ways you can protect your peace. I believe real kindness includes being kind to yourself first. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is a powerful step forward. Healing often begins the moment you stop accepting disrespect. You deserve relationships that bring calm, not constant uncertainty. Protecting your dignity is never something you should apologize for. Every time you choose peace over pain, you move closer to the life you truly deserve. Thank you for watching and reflecting on these lessons with me. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.